Hey friends, happy Monday. I'm on vacation. I'm in the sky. This is pre-recorded because I love y'all. And I want y'all to get this good information before I come back. You want to know where I am? You got to follow me on my Instagram stories at K Whitaker. You'll get all the details about all the fun that the hubby and I are having this week. But I did not want to allow vacation to keep me from coming here, spending time with you all this week at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time right now, sharing some information with you guys because we just started these conversations and I didn't want us, especially having the ability to be able to still produce this content. I didn't want that to slow us down. So today's conversation is going to start the week around content creation. For the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about business building. We've been talking about multiple streams of revenue in your business. And today I want to start to talk about the strategy around creating actual content, especially for those of us that might have been here for a little while and we really hadn't really committed to the whole strategy of content creation. We just kind of been doing our thing here and there, showing up haphazardly, but we hadn't really put a strategy to it, probably because more than anything, we just really don't know what to do. There's so much noise on the internet as it relates to creating a content plan that today I want to have a conversation with you that helps you think about the type of person that you are and how you can apply your personality type to how you're going to create content. So today is going to be about mindset. And then as the week goes on, we're going to start to get into strategy because I think if we can start here, then this helps us prepare our mental on how we're going to actually execute. And everything starts here. Once we get here right, then everything else is going to fall together. So today, this is a throwback to some old content that we've had before, some old conversations that we've had before. But I was like, you know what? Nope, we need to do it again. So you're going to hear me reference some stuff that is already in the making, like the K Club, but I'll throw it up on the screen that it's already done and ready for you. But the information is absolutely still relevant and it's going to help change your life as it relates to how you approach creating content for your business. So if you're a small business owner, creative in nature, that is looking for somebody to help you understand how to prepare yourself to create some amazing content that actually converts for you on the internet versus just being thrown out there for views and clicks, but not really translating into sales, then stick around for today's video. You know, pull up with a piece of pen and a paper, write down some stuff, come with an open mind that is all about you. And then let's have this conversation so that the rest of the week, when we start to talk about strategy and how to implement this stuff, you are more primed and ready to receive it. All right, that's today's conversation. I am in the plane, so if you have questions while I'm not going to answer them while I'm on vacation, child, be sure to leave them down in the comments, though. That way I can see them, so when I get back, we can chit-chat about it in next week's live videos. All right, let's hop into today's video. Ahead and get into this conversation. Let me pull up my notes so that I can stay on track. So as it relates to being a content creator, the reason why we're having this conversation today, I was having some conversations earlier this week with some clients, right? And we were talking and, you know, like many of us that are in business, consistency is a problem. We know we need to create content. We know that that is something that's going to help our business move forward. But a lot of times, figuring out what we should be doing on a day-to-day basis and the underestimate of what it takes in order to really be a good content creator is absolutely real. So today, I want to kind of touch on some things that it takes in order for you to show up as a good content creator. Again, this is not that, you know, this is how you make an Instagram reel or anything like that. This is mentally what you should know about being a content creator. Hey, Famara.
that's going to help you show up, be consistent, and actually be successful. Okay. So, one of the first traits of a good content creator that you are going to find that's common, right, is that we are research driven. Okay. Um, when it comes to showing up in a way where your people are going to relate to you, you got to know your people. And this is not just, oh, you need to know what audience you're trying to drive. This is no, you got to know what drives your people to engage with content online, not just what they want and how they make buying decisions, but you got to understand that person from the inside out and understand exactly how they interact with content, the type of content they're looking for, what entertains them, what triggers them, what sets them off, all that good stuff. And the only way you are going to know what that is through research. Okay. We understand that if we want to be seen, that the only way we're going to be seen is if we appeal to the audience that we're trying to get in front of. Being appealing means offering ourselves in a way or offering our content in a way that is attractive to the audience that it's intended for, that is going to catch their attention long enough to keep them around for us to tell a story quickly and get our point across. And that is going to solve some type of problem. Like, you're only here today watching this video because you have a problem. You want to know what you need to be doing in order to create good content. And if that is true for you, then think about the audience that is true for as well, that you're trying to reach. There's a problem, whether they know it or not. You may have the answer, but if you don't know how to show up in the way that they're going to receive it, then they will not get an opportunity to hear you as the expert or see you as the expert to solve their problems, which means you won't reach them, your audience won't grow, and you won't be successful. You won't reach your goals. Okay. So research is key. And I'm talking the types of things that you want to be researching is you want to research what types of conversations are already going on a part of your problem solving area, a part of your niche. I hate to use these marketing words because I realize everybody here is not a marketer, but in your category of content, what are the conversations that are already going on? Who's having those conversations? You got to know who's already in front of the audience that you're trying to reach. Who's already reaching them? How are they reaching them? What are they talking about? And what is their audience saying to them? All right, this is not a one-sided conversation where I give, and then in return, there's nothing that comes back. You got to know these things. So you got to be willing to go out and find out who's already doing what you're doing. How are they doing what you want to do? And what are the people that are engaged with that content? What do they have to say about it? How do they connect? Do they stick around? Do they have conversations? Are they doing what people are asking now? Don't get it twisted. There's a whole lot of us out here that are talking and having these conversations, and people are not talking back, right? We won't know the end result as far as money and stuff like that is concerned, but we can tell by the community that's being built based around the activities that are already happening. Okay. So if you are an interior designer and you want to know how to go out and build a community around design that you can use to then leverage your services and offer your services, then you've got to go out and find other designers that are out, that are being successful, that are actually driving community, that are actually building audiences of people that not only see them, but talk to them and engage with them and research how they're behaving in whatever environment that they're showing up in. If you decide that it's going to be Instagram, great. Go find designers on Instagram that are doing a great job of building audiences and connecting with those audiences while the audience is talking back. Okay. What are they talking about? How often are they posting? What types of content are they posting? What does it look like? What's the style? What are the people saying? Like, you got to be willing to spend some time in other folks' business in order to figure out what actually works. Because the truth of the matter is, we don't have those answers for you. The only people that have those answers for you is the audience that you're trying to reach. And if if you don't spend time in research and trying to figure out where that's already happening, then you won't be able to connect because you won't know what the people need. If you can figure out what people need, and if you can figure out what's already working and how people are already building community and how people are already getting their audiences to talk to them, it's a lot easier to go back and not duplicate. Like, you don't want to be the copycat, but it's a lot easier to identify what's working and say, okay, that's a practice that works. Let me apply that practice to my own business and see what happens. Okay. Is there an audience that you are available that you can already connect with, that's already established, where you can become a part of that a community, talk to that community, and then leverage that already existing community and bring them back to your platforms, create content that is appealing to them so that when they get back, they are inclined to stay, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. So research is thing number one. You got to be willing and ready to research. You got to be open to the idea that you're going to spend more time in research than you will in actual production, because that is what is required in order to make sure you understand what is going to be necessary in order for your audience to grow. All right. So research is characteristic number one. Characteristic number two is we are resourceful. All right. So once we've done our research and we know what needs to happen, we get resourceful about how to get it done. Because a whole lot of times we stop at what, right? Here's what needs to happen. Here's what you should do. Here's the things that need to happen. But the how is the hard part. Okay. So we don't stop once we know what to do. Now that we know what to do, we get relentless in figuring out how to get it done. And this principle, this characteristic, kind of flushes into another couple of two that we're going to talk about. But the primary idea here that I want to drive home as far as resourceful is concerned is, once we understand who we're trying to reach, what's going to work in order to reach them, we're going to make a decision. We're going to decide, okay, I'm going to go for Instagram, or I'm going to go for Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, whomever. We're going to choose our platform, right? We're going to make a decision. We're going to decide. And then once we've made that decision, we are going to get relentless at figuring out how to make that platform serve us, which goes back to research. Okay. We are always researching. All right. So you might say, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So I create for a number of platforms. So I know a lot of you all connect with me on Instagram. A lot of you all might have even connected with me on a new YouTube channel, but I create content on a number of platforms, which is why I'm streaming everywhere, that's why I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just show up in all the places now that we're back in this seat, because I am literally everywhere, because I understand that my audience is everywhere. The only place that I don't stream is TikTok. And that's just because I haven't grown large enough to stream on TikTok. Once I get big enough to stream on TikTok, I will. Okay. But once I decided which platforms, I didn't start here, right? I didn't start streaming everywhere. I didn't start having Facebook, Instagram, all those places. I chose a couple and said, okay, I'm gonna go with Instagram. One, because I like it, and there's other people there doing kind of what I want to do, and I feel like it'll be easy for me to create there because I'm okay with taking the pictures. This was back in the day when pictures and stuff that was hot on Instagram, and it didn't require all these videos and such. But nonetheless, I chose Instagram. Right. I chose Instagram. And then as a supplement to Instagram, I chose Pinterest, because I didn't have to build community on Pinterest. I just needed to understand that Pinterest was a search engine and it was for visibility. So I chose Instagram because I wanted to create a community on Instagram. I wanted to take pretty pictures. That's what I was going to do anyway. Stories were cool, but I chose Instagram. So I got relentless about figuring out how to work Instagram. Okay, because all these platforms are different. When I chose Pinterest, I understood what Pinterest was and what it was going to be for my business. And I got relentless at figuring out how to make Pinterest work. All right. So now I'm researching and I'm becoming resourceful because I've got to find resources to help me accomplish these goals because I haven't even got to how to show up yet. I haven't even got to, how do I take a pretty picture? Hadn't got there yet. I have just decided that these are the places that I'm going to show up. I know there's an audience. I know there's a conversation already existing around what I want to talk about here because I've done my research. So now that I know that the audience is there, I know that these are the platforms that I'm going to get to. Now I got to get scrappy because I'm a little scrappy. I got to get scrappy and figure out how to get it done. And when I say scrappy, I don't mean cheap because there's a difference. And that's going to kind of be the segue into the third characteristics. It's not about bootstrapping everything because I'm going to be honest with you all. Where I am in business right now is not where I was 9 years ago when I started. When I first started, I had to be scrappy, right? I had to bootstrap things because I may not have had the financial resources to hire someone to help or even to invest money in coaching in order for me to learn what needs to be done. But I might have had time to invest to sit with people like we're doing now, that we're sharing information, take notes, and then apply those notes, go back and apply the principles that I could learn until I could make a little money, position myself, and get to a place where I could actually move forward and go and invest the financial resources in order to help me get done. But what I was not afraid to do, I never had the mindset, and nobody that I know that is out here creating, that is out here doing a good job, that is accomplishing their goals, whether it doesn't matter what those goals are. I don't want us to think in terms of influencer marketing and service-based business products. Doesn't matter. There is nobody out here that I know in my circle of content creators or anybody else that I listen to that pours into me that is afraid to invest either the human resources or financial resources in order to get it done. We do not try to do all the things ourselves. We do not try to be skimpy. Scrappy and skimpy are not the same. So when I say scrappy, I mean we're digging, we're researching, we're finding what we need. And then once we understand what we need, we are figuring out a way to get there. Okay. Even if we don't have the capital right now, we're going to figure out how to go get the money, to get the resources and tools and strategies and information that we need in order to get to where we're trying to go. We are not being cheap. And I'm not going to say being cheap. We are not being scared to invest. And I'm going to use that word because a lot of times scared is not a bad word. Okay. And I'm not saying this to be insulting, but I am going to use the word fear because a lot of times as adults with responsibilities, okay, just because we're content creators or we're trying to incorporate content creation into our business practices to help support us, there is a fear that is already in us that says, what if this doesn't work? What if I waste my money? What if I waste my time? And what if I don't get the results that I get to? Those what ifs don't live in our mind. Okay. And the reason why they don't live in our mind is because our desire to get to the goals outweighs the what ifs. The what ifs are natural. All right. A lot of us, especially a lot of us that listen to this show, that listen to me in this show, a lot of us are moms, we're wives, we're trying to establish a footprint online that leads us to a lifestyle that we want to live. A lot of us have real life responsibilities that are us being risky can be the matter of being able to feed our children and being able to continue to even do this business. So that risk is real. So I don't want to negate the risk or make you feel bad because you have that fear. But what I am saying to you is that even though the fears are present, even though the risk is there, we understand that the risk of us not creating and not doing what we need to do on a daily basis to at least show up and give ourselves an opportunity to win is greater than the risk of us failing. That is the shift that has to happen in your mind in order for you to commit to being in a position where you are going to show up on a day-to-day basis, sometimes having it figured out and sometimes not having it figured out, but being willing to show up and take the chance on you. We're more willing to bet on it will work or I will figure it out than we are looking at those risks of what is, because we're conditioned, right? And I'm going to sit up in my chair because somebody say I'm preaching. I'm not trying to preach. I'm trying to be real because I want you to know that I understand, because you're going to see me a lot. Right? This is the second week in a row that we've been live, and there's been a lot going on, right? The last couple of years, outside of the panorama and everything that's been going on, it's been rough. It's been rough for me as a wife, as a mother. It's been a hard time. Okay. But what I understand about, because I've been in business since 2013, in the past couple of years, even though it was rough, they were the most financially successful years of business. And it was because I never quit. Even when I couldn't show up in the way that I normally showed up, I always kept in mind that at one point in time, I was going to be back to this place. So I'm saying this to you because if you're going to go on this ride with me, right? So I'm committing to you at least once a week, every week, right? Probably more, but I'm setting this tone early for this conversation so that those of us that are listening to the podcast replay, or maybe you're catching a replay, I have somewhere to point you back to, because everything that we're going to be doing going forward is going to require us to take a risk. It's going to require you to take a risk. When I'm teaching you how to show up and be present and do what I do on a daily basis, it requires a risk. It requires a risk of financial resources. It requires a risk of your time. It requires a risk of your willingness. Everything that we're going to do moving forward, when you join the club, even if you join me here, even if you never make it to the club, but even when you're sitting here with me having these conversations, I'm asking you to risk and bet on yourself, to go back and apply the principles that I'm going to be teaching you in order to see the results that I'm telling you are possible. And if your mindset, if you don't think that you can do what I'm telling you to do, you will not do what I'm telling you to do, because the fear of you failing is going to outweigh the opportunity that you're willing to give yourself by just going out and doing it. So those fears are not invalidated. I'm not telling you that it's not okay for you to feel that way. I'm not saying to you that you should ignore those things. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I am saying to you that I share those fears. I have huge responsibilities. I cannot fail, which is the very thing that makes me get up and do what I got to do, because there are people depending on me winning. And the only way I win is if I do. I cannot win the game if I don't play. This is a game, and I got to be willing. You got to be willing. We got to be willing to get up every single day and do what it takes in order to make a difference, which means you've got to get over those fears. You've got to quiet the voices that are telling you that bills are due, responsibilities are there, and if you take this risk, that you're going to not be able to accomplish your goals. You've got to switch your mindset and say, it is because I'm taking this risk that I'm going to be able to accomplish my goals, because I'm going to get scrappy. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to get resourceful, and I am going to figure out, at whatever means necessary, what needs to happen in order for me to replicate the results that I see on a daily basis that other people are doing. I can do that too. That's why I'm having this conversation. It's not about how you implement those things. And I want to be careful when I say that, because it is about that, right? You got to show up. You got to look good. You got to be professional. There is a way that you need to show up in the world. But if you can't get your mind right, if you can't get past what ifs, then you won't ever get to being able to create and being able to get to the audience of people that need to hear from you so that you can accomplish your goals. They need you just as much as you need them. And if you don't understand that, then that will keep your own personal limitations will keep you hostage and you won't show up. All right. So we are not afraid to go out there. We are doers. We're going to consume, right? We're going to research. We're going to spend our time making sure that we understand how we need to show up, what we need to do, like presentation. We understand that those things are necessary. So we are going to research and we are going to consume information. But the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do. And we're going to do before it's perfect. We're going to do before we're ready. We're going to put ourselves out there because now I got to do it so that I can analyze. I got to do it so that I can get a result. I'm going to do it even if nobody else shows up. I'm going to do it even if it feels weird. I'm going to do it despite the fact that I know that I need to be doing something else because I've got to work this in so that I can start to see results, so that I can move forward. This is the attitude that we have as content creators, especially when we're using the internet as our primary source of revenue. We're not concerned about perfection. We are concerned about professionalism, but we are more concerned about making sure the audience that's intended to hear from us hears us. Whether it's perfect or not, we are more concerned about showing up consistently so that we can talk our talk, run our mouth is what a lot of my clients will hear me say. You got to go out and run your mouth so that the people that are supposed to hear can hear, right? And we're more concerned about that than it being perfect. We will perfect it along the way. But the old adage that practice makes perfect, we live by that because the only way we're going to get to perfection is if we do. We don't spend all of our time in research. We don't spend all of that energy researching, being scrappy, being resourceful for it to stop at us not doing anything about what we said we're going to do. We're going to do. It's not going to be perfect. And we're low key okay if we don't get it right because we need to learn. We need to learn. Okay, that didn't work like I thought it was going to work. Let me see what happened. Let me ask questions for the people that were in the room. Let me find out what they liked and what they didn't like about it. Let me find out if this was actually helpful for them. I'm going to talk to them because I want them to talk to me. And when they talk to me, I'm going to acknowledge the fact that they've talked to me and take into consideration what they've said so that the next time I do it, I can make it better. Right? So we're always going and doing because we're hoping to get feedback from an audience of people, no matter how big, how small. We're saying, hey, you know what? I did this. Thank you for being a part of it. Can you tell me what you liked and what you didn't like so that I can go back and make it better for you next time? All right. And then once they do that, they go back and analyze. We are as creative as the content creator is. They are also very analytical because we understand all those fears and responsibilities that I talked about a little bit before. We understand that those things are real, and we understand that they're very present, and we understand that there is something that we're trying to accomplish. And in order to accomplish that goal, we have to know what works so we can do more of what works and less of what doesn't. Because not only do we not want to waste our time, we don't want to waste yours. There is no worse feeling, I think, for anybody that shows up as a content creator. There's not a worse feeling than creating for your audience and it not being what they need. It not resonating with them like you thought it was going to resonate with them, or it being offensive to the people that you are daily working to serve. There's no, I don't know a content creator that feels good when that happens. So we try to do our best at making sure that what we're creating is actually what you need. We're trying to serve a purpose because we understand that if we only get one shot at this, we only get sometimes one opportunity to make an impact with you. And if we waste that opportunity, then we may not get that again. So we respect the fact that there is time that you're giving us. So we want to make sure your time is not wasted. And the only way we know if we've not wasted your time is to analyze what we're doing. So anything that we do, we have moments where we look and say, okay, was this worth it, right? Did the people that this was intended for, did they get what they came for? And how do I know? I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask because I'm not afraid of feedback. I'm not afraid of finding out what you need and making adjustments, because I realize that in order for this to work, for this relationship that I'm trying to build to work, I realize that it's got to be you that it's helpful for. It don't matter what I think. Not necessarily. It doesn't matter how I feel about it if you don't receive it that way, because ultimately you are going to determine my success. You are going to determine whether or not I accomplish my goals. So I have to be heavy on the you, and I have to be heavy on the this was good or this was not, and adjust so that I can make sure you trust me and you continue to show up for me like I'm showing up for you. Because ultimately this is a relationship. And if there's only one person showing up, me, then the goals that I have for my business, I won't accomplish them. I won't accomplish them because it takes you in order for me to get to where I'm trying to go. So if I'm going to be good at content creation, I've got to be good at analyzing and collecting feedback and soliciting feedback and being willing to hear what you have to think about what I'm doing. Because if not, then I won't be able to course correct in order to be better to get to where I'm trying to go. And without those characteristics, then you can hang up content creation. Like I'm going to be honest with you, without being able to have your mind here, content creation will be hard. Content creation will be something that is agonizing for you versus enjoyable for you. I understand that there are aversions for people where people are fearful of the feedback, fearful of the criticism, fearful of being in front of the camera. So you don't create, which as a woman, I understand, right? We are our hardest critics, right? My hair's got to be perfect. My makeup's got to be done. My nails got to be on point. My clothes got to be on point, because everybody's going to be judging me based off of those things. But the reality is nobody's judging you based off of that. Now, the other side to that is you can't show up busted and preaching a prosperity lifestyle and looking like you just rolled over. Right? So you got to be conscious as far as branding is concerned, to be sure that whatever message you're trying to deliver, people believe it because you look like the message that you're trying to deliver. Right? So yes, you have to be aware of those things, but that comes into preparation. That's just being prepared. That is just doing research. That is just making sure that you're thoughtful and prepared versus being responsive and waiting to the last minute to get stuff done. That's a whole different conversation, right? But as far as mindset is concerned, you got to be willing to research. It takes time to come up with good content. The best people, the people that's got hundreds of thousands of people connected with them, they've got teams of people that help them put this stuff together, that spend time in research and development, because they understand that in order to reach and be successful, that these types of things take time. I'm not just going to cut on the camera and naturally just show up and give you everything and blow up like, no. No. See, like our audience is small today. That's because we hadn't done this in a little while. But if I'm saying I want to get hundreds of people on live with me every week, that means I got to do some work before I hit the live button in order for that to happen. I got to show up and give people a reason to want to be live. I got to show up and present myself in a way where people will actually trust me. I got to practice what I preach, and that takes time. If you've never done this before, or if you haven't done it consistently, or if it's been a little while, sometimes there's a build-up process that has to happen. You got to go back, do your research, get scrappy, figure out how to be resourceful in order to get it done, and then analyze what works so that you know what to do again, and then analyze what didn't work so that you don't make those same mistakes in the future. Okay? That's the thought process. You don't believe me? Go ask somebody. I dare you. That's your job today. Go ask somebody that's in your niche. And don't be scared to reach out. We just people, right? Go send them a DM, send them a message on LinkedIn, whatever, however you want to connect with them. Shoot them an email and say, hey, would you agree that in order for you to be good at what you're doing, that you've got to, that you do a lot of research? Like, just take one of the ideas we talked about: research, being resourceful, being willing to invest, getting over the fears and analyzing. Just take one of those and say, hey, would you agree that in order for you to be good at what you're doing right now, that you got to do this? And see what they say. You don't have to take my word for it. Go find the people that you want to be like and ask them. And then when you ask them, come back and be like, oh, you know what, Kay, you was right. I know. Anyways.
We did it. We went live.